Your Excellency, Reverend Fathers, dear seminarians, and dear faithful. Today, I want to talk to you regarding St. Patrick and another saint of the day being bound together by two things. One is by the image of animals, and two, by the guiding of souls to eternity. Our dear patron of the day, St. Patrick, we all know, is oftentimes represented in art there with a snake either going away from him or being stomped on by him or something like that, because of the legend that St. Patrick drove all of the snakes out of Ireland when he went there. Well, snakes may have gone, but what certainly left, which is represented by the snake, was the devils that were there being worshipped by the Druids, the pagans that inhabited the land before St. Patrick came. Yet by the thousands they were converted, and the pagan idols were toppled and conquered, and all of the demons began to flee the country at the preaching of this holy man. One example of this was that St. Patrick showed up to where there was a pagan worship taking place outside, as it usually did with the Druids. There was a Druid high priest there, and one of the kings of the area, he was there, and all these other people had come because of this high feast day that they had. And St. Patrick came to the where they were worshiping this huge stone pillar that was all gilded in gold and had 12 minor idol pillars around it. The Druids oftentimes made their false gods out of slabs of stone standing upright. And they were offering incense to these things, and as St. Patrick came, he came in all of this episcopal garb, including holding the crozier in his hand. And when he did so, he got to the center where the worship was taking place, and he simply took the staff and he tapped it, slammed it down onto the ground. And at the simple motion of implanting the staff, the ground shook and all of the idols tumbled and crumbled into dust before everybody's eyes. That one miracle right there caused 12,000 people to convert to Catholicism that day, because immediately following the miracle, St. Patrick preached to them the true God, and they were listening and they converted. Oftentimes he gained the souls by such great numbers because he would go and speak directly to the leaders, the kings and all that, and they would convert, and they'd have the good influence on their people as well, allowing the saint to preach amongst them. Well, that was, but with the animal aspect of St. Patrick, it wasn't snakes alone that the devil came to him as, but also as birds, as crows. One time he went up to the mountain, which he called Mount Sinai, and he went, and like Moses, he fasted for 40 days and for 40 nights. And the purpose of doing this, and when he was up there, it was cold and windy and rainy and nasty, and he had no place for shelter except for like a little nook in the rock up at the top of the hill. And he did this because he wanted to gain great gifts for the Irish people, so that they could easily make it to heaven. And so he was up there praying and fasting 40 days and 40 nights. And while he was fasting, all of these crows started to come and cover the mountainside, and they'd fly over his head and they'd blot out the sun, and they would come down and swoop around him and bother him and distract him. And there were so many of them that it said it covered the entire mountain at times with crows, and they made all this squawking and noise that he had to persevere through in his prayer and his sacrifice. They were demons. They had come to try to discourage the saint from gaining all that they knew he could gain by his prayers from heaven. And so they tried to distract him and discourage him. Well, St. Patrick, he kept praying and he kept fasting, and at a certain point he took a bell which represented the sweetness of his preaching. And he began to ring the bell. And at that, all of the crows started to stir up and fly around all about and to get really bothered. And eventually, finally, he took the bell and he hurled it at the flock of crows. And the crows, when he had done this, as it bounced down the mountainside, and probably hit one or two of them in the process, they all took to the air and flew off, and they all began to dive into the ocean themselves, and there were no more crows, and he was able to finish off his fasting. Well, I say finish off his fasting because in the end, he really wanted to go a little bit further, because the angel came down to him and told him that many concessions had been given to him by God, and great numbers of souls would be saved from Ireland. But St. Patrick wasn't done yet. He wanted even more souls to get to heaven and even more benefits for the Irish. And so he continued to fast beyond 40 days. And the angel said, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" And he said, "No, these are my demands. Please go and bring them to God and tell him that this is what I want to happen." And the angel would come back and tell him, "Okay, well, God will give you point 1 and point 2. And he said, "No, I have all of these things. I want all of them. Tell the good God that I will not return down to Ireland. I will fast until I die here on the mountain, unless all of my requests are met." And finally the angel came back and said to him, all right, everything is granted to you from the Father above because you are so faithful. And what he had asked for were these points. The one, that many souls would be freed from purgatory simply at his intercession, and that was given to St. Patrick. 2, that anybody who recited St. Patrick's hymn before death would save their souls and go to heaven. 3, that the barbarians would never conquer the church in the land of Ireland again. 4, that 7 years before the end of the world, the sea would swallow up and cover the entire island of Ireland, so that the people would be spared the greatest of the temptations from Antichrist. And 5, that on the final day of judgment, the last judgment, that St. Patrick himself would sit over and judge the Irish people. And so with that, St. Patrick became this great intercessor for souls on his behalf. One such soul that was guided to heaven was a saint whose feast it is today as well. Her name is Saint Gertrude. She was the abbess of Neville, and she was praying one day and sent one of the priests that came to take care of the nuns at the monastery, at the convent that she ran, sent them off to another holy man named Saint Ultan, and told the priest, "Ask him when I should die." And he went off to St. Ultan and came back with a message from the saint that said, "Tomorrow," which would be today, the 17th of March, "tomorrow, during the celebration of Holy Mass, Gertrude, the spouse of Jesus Christ, will depart this life to enjoy that which is eternal. Tell her not to fear, for St. Patrick, accompanied by blessed angels, will receive her soul into glory." And so it was that after she went and received holy extreme unction, and the priest was praying the preface during the Mass, she passed away. And then later on, it was revealed that she had a special gift of guiding souls to heaven, that people who prayed to her near death would be taken with her, and she would help them along the way to heaven after they died, so that they could go quickly there. And it was at this special invocation for souls that she became representative to always have mice and rats with her, because in those days the Teutonic superstition was that mice and rats represented souls, and so she would always take them with her and guide them to paradise. And so, dear children, it reminds us that for us on St. Patrick's Day, it's not merely just a day that we have fun and we enjoy ourselves and have a little extra to eat, which we do that as well. But we do this because St. Patrick is that great patron of helping save souls, most especially of the Irish people, but he would never turn away any good soul who comes to him and asks for his help in prayer. Surely we can all do this for those whom we love and for ourselves as well. May God bless you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.